before we start, everybody at each table, can you number yourselves 1 through 4? Just not having the same number. And just like remember it.
4, 2, 3, 4.
There's also a sheet on the desk, and just choose one member from your table to fill it out for us. Is it ready? Is everybody okay?
So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the interview process workshop. My name is Peggy.
I'm Natalie. I'm Aubrey. I'm Paige.
I'm sure everybody's familiar with, has heard of interview, of course, and like process, I'm sure, as well. And we're going to be covering stuff like the resume, which is before the interview, what comes during the interview, and what comes after the interview as well. So, our objective is for everybody to go along with the process of and actually get knowledge on the process of interview. And like I said, the beginning of the interview, the actual process of the whole interview, and after it. So the first thing we're going to start off is with resumes. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that as well, or has at least constructed a resume before. And a resume basically is a document that summarizes your education, your employment history, your accomplishments, and that. The purpose of a resume is for you to communicate, present, impress, and advertise your skills and abilities and accomplishments to the job that you're applying for. And most importantly, what you want to gain from a resume is to actually get an interview. That's the main purpose. So statistics have showed that 68 of hiring managers spend less than 2 minutes reviewing a job candidate's resume, and that's more than half, basically. And this statistics is from a group of managers that actually got together, and it was around 2,200 of them that well, not got together, but they were able to bring together the statistics.
Just sit right here.
And 17% of people making decisions only devote 30% of time to the resume. So this is why it's extremely important to know how to make a resume and almost basically make it perfect. In resumes, you want to include your contact information, so what's ever easy to get access of you. So basically your name, obviously your number, and your email address as well. That works. You want to include your employment history and education. So for employment history, a lot of times you want to put the most recent. You want to start with most recent employment, and sometimes it could vary. Like what you put in a resume can vary a lot of times. Because I was reading an article on Fox Business, and they said sometimes they don't want to see your employment history. Like let's say you worked at a job for like a week or like 2 weeks. They don't, like a lot of times you might not want to put that because it doesn't look right. It makes you look like you can't handle a job or something went wrong. You also, for employment history, you want to include where you work, the dates, for how long. The same thing goes for education. You want to include your highest level of education. So if you went to college, you want to include your highest degree, what institution you attained the degree from, and you want to include qualifications and skills that fit the job that you're applying for, and for other accomplishments.
Yeah, and for other, you can also put like community service and other services you do.
Basically to impress. It's kind of like, I see it as like a presentation as well. So like what we're doing up here is kind of like what you put on a resume. For format, you want to be as organized and concise as possible on your actual document. You want it to be a page, no more than a page. Font size from 10 to 14. Standard typefaces, so nothing no type of font that exaggerates. Like you want to stick to maybe Times New Roman, and headings, so everything's clear. So this is This is an example of an actual resume, and I covered some of the stuff that I added that you should include on the actual resume, like the education experience, like there's more here, computer, these are your skills and stuff, and the contact information on top. And a lot of times in resumes, you don't want to use like big information or big words, like for example, the words go-getter, think outside the box. You want to use, like, you want to be specific and have more to say. What works in resumes? You want to be as concrete and concise as possible. Like, you don't want to over-exaggerate, but you don't want to do, like, too less. You want to use nouns instead of verbs to present skills. Like, you want to use words like improve, train, mentor, achieved when you write your resume. And then after that comes whether you got your interview or not. Whether you actually got the interview or not, and that's based off your resume. So the interviews that come are either telephone screening, which is through telephone. It can an interview can be through like a call and stuff. In person, where you actually go into wherever the employment is and talk to the employee. Behavioral, where it's like basically kind of where they test your behavior and stuff. And group, where you come together with a group of people aside of the employee that are at the interview to actually interview.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the one-on-one and in-person interviews today. These are just some examples of other interviews.
Alright, so before we get into the actual process of the interviews, if you all look in your folder in front of you, the second page is a little quiz that we're going to have you take right now to see what you know so far, and then you're also going to be taking the same thing at the end to compare your answers to see what you learned. The first question with the picture, we're going to get that up on the board right now because it's a little hard to see on the quiz. So you could just get that one for now, and once we get it up, you can go back to it.
It's a little small, but
That's the picture. Focus on more of like the colors and like the, I don't know, actual setup, because you can see the details on the paper. Is everyone done? Close to being done? Alright, so just keep that in your folder because we're going to go back to it towards the end. So before the interview, preparing for the interview, basically the biggest part of your interview is you want to be prepared. You want to go in there with knowledge, with background information, You don't want to just go in there empty-handed, blindsided, not knowing what to do. It's like going in to take a test and not studying for it. You know, you want to be prepared. So the first step in preparing for your interview is analyzing the job. You want to do some research, find out what the job description is, what are they looking for in a candidate, you know, do you fit that description, are you going to do well at this job, is this actually something you're interested in? And then in accordance to that, you should make a match with the job description and the description of yourself. So a good tip that I found while researching this was if you make a list of the qualifications and personality traits, both personal and professional, that the job is looking for, and then make one for yourself. If you put them together, most of them should match up, and if they don't, then it's not really a job that's going to fit you right. So in relation to that, you want to do research on the company itself that you're going to interview for, like what kind of upcoming events they have going on, what they actually do, what the company is all about, if they have any big like research projects coming up, things that you can get involved in with the company, because if they're going to ask you questions about that, you want to be able to provide the right answer for them, so they know that you know what they're all about, and they don't think that you're just going in there just to get the job, that you want to actually be a part of their company. And next, you want to practice interviewing. So get it with a friend, a family member, anyone that you feel comfortable with that could practice asking you questions, and you could come up with answers. Online or magazines, books, you could find like the most common asked interview questions and answers that go along with it. So when you're in the interview and you're asked questions, you're not going to be blindsided and scrambling for an answer. You're going to be prepared because you practice and you have the answers in your mind and questions that you could be asked, so you could have answers prepared.
I have a question. Can you go back to that? How would you, I mean, you said practice anybody you can find, but I don't think you really meant that. How would you?
Someone that you're comfortable with. So a friend, a parent, sibling, someone that could ask you these questions and you could answer them.
Okay.
And then one of the biggest parts of your interview is getting your clothes ready, having the right attire when you go in there. You always want to have your outfit planned out before the interview, at least the day before, and also have a backup outfit, because if you spill something on it or get ink or something on it, you want to have something prepared so you don't go in there looking like a slob, you know. So here's some pictures for guys and girls of what you should wear and what you shouldn't wear. So as you can see in this picture over here of the dudes, they look nice. Everything goes together. It's not like his dress shirt is tucked in, it's not out. His hair is combed back pretty nice, as opposed to this picture where his clothes don't really fit him. The yellow tie doesn't really match, whereas the red and the blue go nice together. You know, you don't want to have like a bright orange tie and then like a yellow shirt, because that doesn't really match. And up there, you know, his shirt's tucked out. Yeah, he has khakis on, but it's just a little more casual, and it just seems like he just threw it on rather than taking time to look professional and get ready. And then over here for the girls, this is more business casual, and this is more business professional. As you could tell, she has a suit on, really professional. Her hair's nice. It's not just like all messy and thrown up. And then over here, she has a bright colored shirt on, and it's not that distracting, but that's also more business casual. Whereas here she has more neutral, calming colors, so it's not really bright or anything outrageous like that.
If you're interviewing for a career rather than a job, you should stick to neutral colors, like the one on the right here and the one on the right there. The darker colors you shouldn't really wear, like yellows and pinks, oranges.
And then another big thing with interviews is tattoos and piercings. When people see that you have a tattoo and piercing when you come in for an interview, their first perception of you is that you have all these markings on your body and stuff, and when you come in, like as this picture, yeah, he's dressed up nice, but he has like the lip piercings and the gauge earrings, and it just looks kind of unprofessional, and like, I don't know, like if he took those out, it would look more like he was fit for the job. And then here's a picture up here. You would never know that this guy has all these tattoos when he's at work, because he covers them up, so it makes him look more professional, and not like you don't know that he has all this stuff on his body. And then what to bring to an interview to have prepared, as Peggy was telling you, your resume. You always want to have extra copies of your resume, just in case the boss needs them, or if other people need to review your resume as well. You want to have a list of references, so people that you trust, that you think would say good things about you, so that if the boss wanted to after the interview say, okay, well, this is how I perceived you, but I want to see how your references perceive you. So we can call them up and ask questions like, do you think this person will be fit for the job? Are they trustworthy? Are they a hard worker? So we can get more information on you. And then also include in the resume your previous work. If you worked at a similar business before or any work that you've done before, you could bring that in as proof to show what you've done so far, what qualifications you have, if it will help you with the job you're applying for. And then as we handed out to you, you always want to have a folder like this to organize all your papers, everything you bring in, paper, pens, so you could write down questions, contact information, anything you need following your interview. And then always you want to have questions. You don't want to just leave without asking any questions. Even if you don't have an actual question, think of something to ask them so they know that you're still considering applying for the job and you still have things to learn about the company. And then things not to bring into an interview, obviously your phone, if that goes off, basically you don't really have the job because they're going to say, wow, like she brought her phone in here, she's not really focused on us, like she has other people to be talking to. You don't want to be chewing gum because that's distracting when you're talking, and it's kind of like rude. Someone doesn't want to be talking to you while you're chomping on your gum. And coffee, you don't want to have so much stuff in your hands, and you don't want to have to, put that on their desk or something that they're interviewing where you could risk spilling it or having a catastrophe like that.
Does anyone have any questions this far?
So talk about a little bit why you don't want to do those things. What are you trying to project when
Well, you're trying to be professional and not like you're focused, you're there for them. You're not trying to talk to your mom or your girlfriend or anything. You don't want to come in like having all these stuff in your hands, or coffee, as I said, getting that everywhere. You just want to show them that you're there for them and you're not worried about anything else at the moment.
I'd like to make a point about the gum. I went to an interview workshop actually early in the school year, and the guy that gave the interview is the head interviewer for Enterprise Car Rentals, and he was talking about like how you shouldn't chew gum whatever, but then he gave an example that someone came in for an interview and their breath was really bad, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Maybe a mint is a better choice, but definitely don't have bad breath.
And then you always want to practice your interview etiquette. You want to be polite when you go in there. So as soon as you walk into the office place or wherever your interview is occurring, you want to be friendly and enthusiastic right from the start, because you don't know who the boss is at the moment if you haven't met him yet, and you don't know who's who in the office. So people could be reporting like when you walked in there, you were just rude to them and you didn't show them the same respect that you would show the boss as well. You always want to have a nice firm handshake, smile, don't be so nervous, just be outgoing and introduce yourself to everyone that you see in the place. And then a big thing is getting directions. You want to know where you're going ahead of time so you're not late, because you always want to arrive at least 15 minutes early. If you have time, it's good to go and find the place the day before your interview, so drive there so you know the route you're taking so you don't get late. No backup routes in case there's like a delay, construction, anything like that going on, because you really don't want to be late. That's just a terrible first impression, and they think that you just didn't care, took the last second to go. So that leads us to the top 10 interview mistakes of what people do wrong regarding these things. As we went over, dressing inappropriately, so too casual. As you can tell here, she's wearing flip-flops and jeans, and he has shorts on, and just like a random jacket with a striped shirt, like nothing professional looking. Some people, like for girls mainly, if you come in wearing like crazy makeup, like blue eyeshadow and like bright pink lipstick or something, it's just distracting and it doesn't look as professional as like neutral colors would. So that's what you want to focus on. And then also for girls, too much jewelry or too much perfume is distracting when you're in a small room getting interviewed. Like girls wear those Alex and Ani bracelets, if you're talking and using your hands, it's just jingling everywhere and it's really distracting to the person interviewing you. And then not doing your homework on the company, as I said, doing your background research, learning what their goals are and what they're trying to do for their business and how you could help them. So if you go in there and they ask you a question, like, so what do you know about our business, or did you hear about this upcoming project we have, and you don't know what they're talking about, they're going to think that you know nothing about the company, so you shouldn't be hired for them. And then poor interpersonal skills. So if you go in there, you don't have enough energy, you know, your handshake was just like not a firm grasp, and you're just kind of like boring, they're gonna think, all right, this person isn't really too interested in the job, or at least doesn't seem it. So you're gonna get turned down right from the start. And then if you talk way too much, some people use it as a defense mechanism if they're nervous. Like the interview knows that you're nervous, but if you are just rambling on about everything you've done, all your traits and everything, they're gonna get a little tired of hearing everything that you have to say, and they're gonna want to talk more. So it's gonna waste time. And then lack of responsiveness. If they're asking you these questions and you're just sitting there like, yep, no, you're not giving, you know, further detail or explaining yourself, they're also going to become bored with you and say, okay, I don't know enough about this person because they're not telling me enough, and they're just going to think, all right, they're not, you know, worth the time. Someone else probably has a lot more things to say about themselves. And then going back to the resumes, if your facts don't add up, if you are asked a question and you answer it and it doesn't match up with the information on your resume, they're going to think right from the start, wow, this person's lying, or they don't know what they're talking about, there's something false on the resume, and that's obviously not good because they're going to think that you're a liar and they're not going to trust you for their company. Not listening to the question that the interviewer asked you. You know, if you have to keep making him repeat himself, he's going to think that you're not listening, that you're just thinking about other things, you're not toned into what he's saying, that you're not paying attention, so he's going to think that it's not that important to you, and then you won't be important to him, and he won't hire you. Talking trash about your company is a big one. It's not a small world, really. I mean, it is a small world. It's not that big in the business industry mostly. So some companies might have ties with other companies, so if you're going in talking trash about a past employee or boss, or even just the company itself, they're going to think, wow, maybe one day you're going to do that to us, and we don't want that. Or they can know someone that maybe they work with, that they have ties with, and they're going to think, well, if you don't get along with them, or if you don't like them, then you probably won't fit in with us either. And also, as we stated before, leaving your phone on, very distracting, and it shows that you're, you know, not focused on the interview at that time only, and you're focused on other things like social media or talking, texting, anything like that. And then lastly, not following up after your interview. You always want to call or email your interviewer to thank them. Make it personal if you email them. Include something that like you took from the interview. So say, I really like how we talked about, you know, the company goals that we have, and make sure you let them know that you're really interested in the job. So say like, you know, I really could picture myself a future employee here. I appreciate your time, and just let them know that you are thanking them for taking the time to meet with you.
Can you just, before you want me to just go back to where, I was going to just ask that question, where did this come from? This top 10?
The top 10 from the jobsearchabout.com.
Does anybody have any questions on before the interview? Preparation is really the biggest part of the whole process. No? Okay, now we're going to do an interactive activity. So everybody remembers their numbers that they chose at the beginning. Okay, so if we could have ones at this table, and bring your index cards and a pen. 2s, 3s, and 4s. So partner up with someone who has the same number as you. So 2 and 2. This is 2.
3.
1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. When you sit down, find a partner at your number table. Yes, 2, 3, 4 in the back. What are you guys? Number 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Are you guys 3?
Yes.
Okay.
It's my phone.
So partner up within your table.
And then first we're going to brainstorm on another part of the interview process. That's your strengths and weaknesses. That's a question that's almost everybody asks. It's pretty consistent. So on one of the index cards, write a strength and then a story, like proving that's your strength. So for instance, like I'm competitive because I've played sports my whole life, and then choose an example of like when you were competitive and how it's helped you. And you don't have to write the whole story down, just like be able to recite it. And then do the same with another strength. So you'll have 2 strengths and then a question if you were an interviewer. So you're gonna do 2 strengths.
Oh, 2 strengths?
A
Yeah,
strength,
and
a
then
strength,
this.
and then a question that you're gonna ask your partner.
Okay.
So if you were an interviewer, like what would you think would be most important to know about the person you're interviewing? Does anybody need help with any ideas or anything?
It's okay to speak up if you don't know.
So recommend something for clients, I didn't pay attention. I'm multitasking. I'm just multitasking. I'm not good at multitasking.
Does anybody need help?
As an interviewer, right?
Yeah. And then
I just
you're gonna
forgot.
share your strengths.
Are you
So you guys have
What,
to-
yeah, what's the question?
Are you guys
If you were an interviewer, what question would
Okay.
you, like, what's a big question you want to know about the person you're interviewing?
And then
Okay.
like 2 strengths of your own.
Okay.
And then like
Sorry.
a story.
Yeah, that's okay.
You okay with that? Does anybody have any questions? Examples? Take another 1 to 2 minutes finishing that. How are you guys doing? Almost finished. Take your time. How you guys doing? Almost finished?
Yeah.
Almost finished. You guys are all done?
What's, if you were an interviewer, like what would you want to know? Are we all set back there on the floor table?
Or table set.
Alright. Okay, so, one.
Thanks.
For points, but that's actually.
Alright.
You guys good? Most of it over here? Okay, good.
So, partner up with someone at your table, and you're gonna ask them the question you came up with, and try to use your strengths that you wrote down with your examples, and answer the question to the best of your ability, like as if you're being interviewed.
I don't think we have a company to really talk about. I think she like is like these two.
So I just.
Well, what are your
I would just always say
whatever market is.
How's it going?
Team effort.
Good?
One day.
What was your question?
Mine was like, will you help the company thrive and move forward to future growth?
how about I say yeah.
So just switch. So you guys can ask me questions.
And then you know like how I look for an answer.
What is your greatest? Or mine
Then how can you overcome that in the work?
I say what's your help on
What are your strengths?
So you can say that I'm really hard worker.
Mine was like, will you help me
What are your strengths?
My strengths were oriented in
No, I wrote it. That didn't make sense.
About like the rest of this activity is like the
Help
interviewer.
like use your strengths to help
When you
you.
ask a question, they just say why. You have to answer again and say why.
So think of your weakness and then try to have your strengths help you overcome
Use your hands as my strength.
I went to like Bud
Did you guys answer your questions? Okay, so I think we're all finished basically with our activity.
Was it hard to figure out strengths?
Yeah, and it's hard to relate them to use your strengths with like talking about yourself and answering the questions. So it's always good. Like as you said, preparation is really the key. So to know before you go in there what your strengths are and how you can use them for the job.
All right, so now we're going to talk about during the interview, so actually the interview process. So this is just a fun slide. You're searching for your job, check, you did your resume, hit it on the head. Your application was a piece of cake, but the interview is not so good. So you want to make the right impression, and it really starts when you first walk in the building, not just when you first meet the interviewer. You want to dress to impress. So just dress for the job that you want. If it's more of a career, you want to dress more professionally, like Natalie was saying, more neutral tones, darker colors. But if you're going for like, I don't know, a lifeguarding job or something, you can kind of dress more down. Shaking hands. If they don't reach out and try to shake your hand, do the opposite and try to reach your hand out for them. Make it a firm handshake, look them in the eye. You don't want a limp noodle just hanging there. You want to avoid filler words, which are and all those kind of things. You don't want your nervousness to show. And practice good posture. You don't want to slouch in the chair. It'll make you look sloppy or like you don't want the job or you don't care about the company. So some interview do's. It's kind of long. But you want to be prepared. Preparation, obviously, as you can see, is the really big key factor here. Dress appropriately. Know exactly when and where the interview is. Like Natalie said, put it in your navigation system. Look it up on Google Maps. Know how long it's going to take you to get there. Arrive around 10 to 15 minutes early so you are prepared to meet the interviewer and meet other people in the company.
It's an interviewer.
Yeah, he's ready. Treat everyone at the company with respect. You don't want to just treat your interviewer with respect. You want to treat everyone the same way. And they could be kind of like spies looking for different ways that you act towards them. Have a firm handshake, good eye contact, and a friendly expression. You don't want to be sitting there with a frown on your face when they're trying to talk to you, slouching over, like I said before. You want to know the interviewer's name and the correct pronunciation. If you go up there and his name is Jose and you say Josie, it's just not good. You want to sit still in your seat and don't fidget. It'll look like you have something else to do or some other place to be.